I want to be an astronomy nerd. I don't know what qualifies one as a real astronomy nerd. In my mind, that has something to do with understanding math, and I suck at math, but I just think space is endlessly fascinating and terrifying, which is the perfect combo, to be honest. The fear of space and celestial objects is such a common experience that it even has a name: astrophobia. I myself don't necessarily have this phobia, but that doesn't mean I don't find space a little scary. Like even the most basic thought alone. We live on a blue marble in a pitch-black nothingness that reaches possibly forever, with no idea what lies just outside our vision and understanding. In the end, we humans, our planet, and even our solar system and galaxy are a meaningless grain of sand in the grand scheme of things. If that doesn't give you existential fear, I don't know what does. Distances in space and the size of the universe are especially fascinating, mind-boggling, and distressing. When we look at the stars in the sky, we actually look back in time. The light from those stars has traveled from so far that the star could have already died by the time its light reaches us. Distances in space are expressed in light years. The distance that light, universe's fastest known thing, travels within a year. It takes light only 1 second to travel 300,000 kilometers. Neptune is the farthest planet in our solar system, and it takes only 4 hours for light to reach it. So just imagine how far away something is if it takes a whole year or even more for light to reach it. In 1977, NASA spacecrafts Voyager 1 and 2 were launched, set to study Jupiter and Saturn and the outer solar system, which at the time hadn't been visited by anything man-made yet. The Voyagers are still the farthest human-made objects from Earth. With the Voyagers traveled so-called golden records, time capsules that contain images and sounds from Earth, greetings in 55 different languages, and even music. The intent behind these records was to send them to interstellar space in the hopes that one day someone will find them and learn about humans and Earth. The records come with symbolistic instructions of how to play them and the solar system's location in the Milky Way. With our universe's size in mind, though, it's possible that the golden records will reach no one. Even our closest star, Proxima Centauri, is about 4.25 light years away. For the Voyagers, it takes about 18,000 years to travel 1 light year. There's something really haunting in the thought that these records containing evidence of our existence here on Earth are traveling in the darkness and vastness of the cosmos, carrying a message that will likely reach no one. Or even if it does, all humans have been long dead by then. Humans have no way of discovering even a percentage of all universe's secrets, even if we existed for billions of years to come. And the size of the universe, our insignificance, is an absolutely terrifying thing to realize. So today, we'll focus only on the solar system, which means the planets and the other celestial objects that spin around our own star, the Sun. This time, we are designing our solar system's planet as characters. And no, I'm sorry to inform you that I will not be including Pluto, but that's only because I'm lazy, not because I think it was fair for it to be demoted to a dwarf planet. Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, orbiting it in only 88 Earth days. This makes Mercury the fastest planet in our solar system and is accordingly named after the Roman messenger god. Mercury is also the solar system's smallest planet, being only a little bit bigger than Earth's moon. A day on Mercury lasts about 59 Earth days and it spins almost upright, so it doesn't have as variable seasons as other planets do. Despite being so close to the Sun, Mercury is not the hottest planet. That title belongs to the second closest, Venus. This is because Mercury doesn't have an atmosphere, so there's nothing to trap the heat to the planet's surface. The Sun just warms the side that happens to be exposed to it. This means Mercury has extreme temperatures, both hot and cold. The sun-facing side of the planet can have temperature over 400 Celsius, while the other side can have minus 200 Celsius at the same time. On Mercury, sunlight is 11 times brighter than on Earth, and the Sun would appear over 3 times bigger. Mercury is a terrestrial planet with a surface full of craters, also because of the lack of an atmosphere, which in planets like Earth and Venus protect the planet from meteorites. Mercury has been visited only by 2 spacecraft, since the planet moves so fast that it's hard to reach, and because the Sun's gravitational pull is so strong. It is estimated that it would take less energy to reach Pluto than to reach Mercury, even though technically Mercury is closer to us. Also, Sun is freaking hot, so there's another reason why we can't get up too close to Mercury. Mercury is hard to observe from Earth's surface as well, since it's so close to the Sun, and looking straight into the Sun isn't an advisable thing to do, and sunlight can even damage telescopes. Still, apparently Mercury is very interesting to scientists, and the planet is planned to be visited again soon. For a reference picture, I picked this yellow-bluish photo of Mercury, but in real life the planet resembles more of our moon. That though would give me kinda limited and to be honest boring color scheme, so let's go with a colorful one. I decided to make my Mercury character an actual kid compared to the other planets since it is the smallest one, and I thought it would be fun to have some age variation among the characters. From the very first sketch of him, I knew I wanted Mercury to have roller skating gear on to show how fast he is. He has a more active pose than the other characters and overall has a wild energy which ties back to him being an energetic kid. I gave him a missing tooth to both make him more child-looking and maybe to imply that at some point he has fallen over while speeding. To reference the god Mercury, I put pictures of wings on his roller skates because in the myths, Mercury has wings on his shoes. I wanted to give each of these characters like a hobby/job that would somehow be not towards the planet's characteristics, and for Mercury I chose him to be a paperboy who would deliver newspapers on his roller skates. This would also be a reference to the messenger god thing. Because Mercury doesn't have an atmosphere, the solar wind is free to lift the material off the planet's surface and create a tail made of sodium behind Mercury. To show off this comet-like feature of the planet, I gave my Mercury boy a sweater tied around his shoulders, creating this cape-like look, which could, again, also refer to the Roman god. Lastly, I put some sunglasses on him because we don't want him to ruin his little eyes in the blinding light of the nearby sun. I don't have an actual story thought out behind these characters, and I'm kinda coming up with the lore as I go, but I imagine Mercury boy probably being some other planet character's little brother. He's probably a bit of a wild and chaotic child, sly and a trickster, and adults have put his energy into good use as a paperboy. Venus is the brightest and hottest planet in the solar system, despite being only the second closest planet to the Sun. This is caused by Venus's thick atmosphere. Venus is very visible from Earth's surface. It is the first object in the sky to become visible during evenings, and the last one to disappear during mornings, which has earned it the both nicknames of the evening star and the morning star. Venus spins to the opposite direction compared to all the other planets, with the only other exception being Uranus. Venus is about the same size as Earth, but rotates so slowly that one day on Venus is longer than 1 year on Earth, which makes Venus the planet with the longest year in the whole solar system. Venus is named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty, and is the only planet named after a female god. In symbolism, Venus is very linked to femininity, and most of its features are named after mythological or real-life women. Venus is a terrestrial planet known for its volcanic surface and clouds made of sulfuric acid. Venus's atmosphere is so full of clouds that it was unclear for a very long time what actually lay beneath them and what kind of planet Venus even is. There's only a few pictures of Venus's surface taken by Soviet Venera spacecrafts between 1975 and 1981, which showed the surface of the planet as rocky wasteland and atmosphere as yellow caused by the sulfur. The spacecrafts were eventually destroyed by the extreme temperature and pressure, and there has not been other photos taken, but apparently NASA has a Venus mission planned sometime in the next following decade. It is theorized that Venus was once a very Earth-like planet. It had liquid water and was able to support life. It might have even been a full-on ocean planet. This could have been possible during the times when our sun was younger and therefore also dimmer and cooler, which could have been ideal for Venus, which is closer to the sun than Earth. According to the theory, Venus was then destroyed by the greenhouse effect/climate change and became the fire pit we are now familiar with. I tried to make my Venus character objectively/conventionally attractive to go back to her being named after the goddess of beauty. I also kinda reference her pose from the painting Birth of Venus because I thought that would be a fun Easter egg. She has sunglasses since she is the brightest planet, and I couldn't help myself, so I made them heart-shaped to go back to the goddess of love aspect. For the same reason, also her belt buckle, makeup, the opening on her shirt, and her overall face features are in the shape of a heart. I thought this very cute heart nail art on Pinterest, and I tried to implement that on her also, but the way her hands are doesn't really show it well, but I guess it's the thought that counts. To hint towards the hotness and volcanic activity of the Venus planet, I gave her a flame-shaped handbag and these very cool pants with fiery pattern. Her earrings and the chain on her belt resemble either lava or the general melting process caused by heat, whatever you think is cooler. Her color scheme is mostly directly eye-drop from the reference photo I use, but I made her eyes green, the same color my upcoming Earth characters' eyes are, to make them look related, but also to symbolize the theory that Venus was once a life-supporting planet like Earth. Finally, I gave her freckles to kinda resemble Venus's surface on that one picture I chose for reference, and since I decided that I wanted to give each character like a fitting job/hobby, I gave Venus a phone with a lot of notifications to imply that she's like a popular beauty influencer or something. Yeah, kinda predictable, I know, but I think it suits her. As I said, these characters don't have a deeper lore behind them, but Venus is definitely Earth's twin or older sister, since the planets are often called each other's twin sisters because of their similar size, proximity, and these possible parallels about life-supporting qualities. I imagine my Venus character being someone who lots of people find beautiful, and may I even say hot, and she herself is also very self-confident and knows she is gorgeous. She's very feminine and enjoys girly things like shopping and makeup, but at the same time she's the biggest girl's girl and has a crazy hot temper. She will fight creepy guys in bars and has zero hesitation to defend herself, her friends, or even random strangers. Just like the planet itself, she too is beautiful from the outside but freaking dangerous in practice, and you better not mess with her. She probably has some sad backstory, to reference again towards the global warming that the planet Venus may be experienced, and that makes her protective of her sister Earth, who might be heading to the same direction as Venus has once gone to. Earth is the only planet in our solar system to have liquid water, and the only known celestial body in the whole universe able to support life. This is caused by many fortunate conditions. For example, Earth has happened to have formed in the perfect spot when it comes to distance from the Sun. The Sun is far enough for it not to burn us to crisp, but close enough for it to keep us warm and give us light, things that are essential for life. Earth's atmosphere is the ideal thickness for life and protects us from both Sun's radiation and asteroids coming from outer space. Earth is the only planet with breathable air, and our solar system also happens to be in a pretty safe location in the universe. Our only close star is our own Sun, so we don't have to fear getting pulled from our orbit or being destroyed by a collapsing star. Earth is the biggest one of all the 4 terrestrial planets and the only ocean planet in our solar system. 70% of the planet is covered in liquid water. The rest of Earth is land covered in vegetation and deserts of ice on the poles. Earth's day lasts about 24 full hours, and its year for 365.25 days, making every 4th year a so-called leap year when there's one extra day. Earth, like most of our solar system's planets, is a bit tilted, either hemisphere always being a bit closer to the Sun, and this causes the different seasons we experience. Light travels from Sun to Earth in 8 minutes. The distance between Earth and the Sun is called astronomical unit, and it's used to demonstrate other distances in space as well. Earth has one moon, the moon, making it the only planet in our solar system to have only one moon. Earth is also the only planet not named after a deity, but is instead just called the ground in most, if not all, languages. Life on Earth has its origins in the ocean, and it is estimated that since then, 99% of all ever existed species have gone extinct. Humans have existed only for 0.007% time out of all of Earth's existence, which is crazy because for us, humans have been around for forever. This really demonstrates humanity's meaningless, which at the same time is scary, but also a bit comforting. Earth has gone through at least 5 ice ages during its history, the most recent one being 3 million years ago, and technically we still live on that ice age. Due to ongoing global warming and how Sun is naturally becoming hotter and hotter, it is unlikely that Earth will experience ice ages ever again. Our Sun's luminosity will increase over time, causing water to evaporate and Earth's surface temperature to rise, which in turn will cause carbon dioxide to reduce, making plant life die, which will then cause lack of an oxygen in our atmosphere, and that obviously leads to death of living things. It is estimated that our Sun will become a red giant in 5 billion years, making it bigger and hotter, eventually basically eating Earth and other planets. That though will happen very, very far in the future, and I personally doubt that humans will even exist by then anymore, and planet Earth might already be uninhabitable at that point. My Earth character is a gardener, since Earth is the only planet making life and therefore also vegetation possible. I made her a little messy with soil on her hands, feet, clothes and face, and some leaves and flowers stuck to her hair to drive further her connection with nature. For the same reason also her feet are bare. She's carrying a watering can to, imply the fact that Earth is the only planet with liquid water, and I gave her these cute butterfly hairpins and bird earrings I found on Pinterest to, once again, show that she's all about nature and living things. Her shirt sleeve resembles a leaf, her jeans have a flowery pattern, and the bandana on her head has a picture of how the sky looks from the surface of Earth. Her hair is two-colored because the lighter part was originally supposed to be more white, referring to the icy poles of the planet, but I still ended up coloring it more blonde since it just looked better with the rest of the design. I didn't refer to the planet's moons in any of the other character designs, but for Earth Girl I gave a moon-shaped necklace because of our own moon is of course the most familiar and iconic to us. It's Moon the Moon. And also Earth has only one and the other planets like million, so it was therefore an easy add. Earth is the sister of Venus, so I tried to give them similar features, especially on the face. At first I thought about making her a little worn down or straight up bruised to symbol how humanity can be such a parasite to our planet, but I don't know how that would fit with the little bit of lore I have for these characters, so maybe her hardships are more psychical than physical. I imagine Earth as a character being a bit naive, idealistic and oblivious, but also kind and caring. She spends her time head up in the clouds and wants to believe in good in everything. Not dumb by any means, but she's just got that easygoing vibe. Her dynamic with her sister is that Venus has gone through some shit and therefore wants to protect her sister, sometimes by even a bit overdoing it. Earth in turn is the only one who can calm her more temperamental sister down, and she's overall the more serene and considerate of the two. Still, despite their differences, they are very close and love each other unconditionally. Mars, aka the Red Planet, is the most explored and studied planet in the solar system outside of Earth, since it's relatively close to us and doesn't have as extreme conditions as the other planets. Mars has been visited by many spacecrafts and is the solar system's only planet inhabited entirely by robots. But no human has yet stepped a foot to its surface, though that is humanity's long-term dream and goal, and some even plan to colonize and/or terraform Mars and make it habitable for humans. Mars is named after the Roman god of war because the planet is the color of blood. Later it's been found out that the color comes from the rust in the planet's atmosphere. I think it's quite common misconception that Mars is really hot. You know, the pictures from Mars's surface look like deserts here on Earth, and there are a lot of volcanoes, but actually Mars is mostly a very cold planet, thanks to its distance from the sun and its thin atmosphere. Mars even has polar ice caps like Earth, and as far as we know, all Mars's volcanoes are extinct, yet there might be some volcanic activity underneath the surface. Mars has quite many similarities with Earth. They are both terrestrial planets with mountains and valleys. Martian day is only a little bit longer than Earth's, the planets are tilted in a way that gives them similar season, and it's confirmed that Mars used to have oceans, rivers and lakes just like Earth. Research has found dried up river and lake beds on Mars's surface, which nowadays is just cold, dusty desert, only known water on Mars being in the form of ice. Mars has the largest volcanoes in the whole solar system. Mars's tallest volcano, Olympus Mons, is 3 times the size of Mount Everest, Earth's highest mountain. Another iconic landmark on Mars is Valles Marineris, which in turn is solar system's largest canyon, which is 10 times the size of the Grand Canyon here on Earth. Mars also has 2 small moons, Phobos and Deimos, which are irregularly shaped and named after the sons of the Greek god of war. Phobos is slowly getting closer to its planet and is estimated to either crash into Mars or be torn apart by it in 50 million years from now. In the late 19th century, Mars was widely believed to be habited by Martians, a civilization similar to humans on Earth, when some astronomers claimed to see man-made looking canals on the surface of Mars. Later, it was found out that the so-called canals were just an optical illusion and based on the fact that the lens of the telescope reflected the blood vessels of the eye. Nowadays, we of course know there's no life on Mars, but Martians are still alive in pop culture and have kinda become a synonym for aliens, which is used to refer to all extraterrestrial life. At first I had kinda hard time figuring out where to exactly go with my Mars character. I thought about making his design/outfit somehow related to deserts or volcanoes by him maybe being an explorer or a scientist, but those just didn't inspire me enough, so eventually I just ended up with this rebellious looking little guy. I know I could have probably come up with better ideas for his design, but I had already gotten kinda attached to his character looks, so this is what we are working with. In my original sketches of Mars, he was also more of a teenager, but after I remembered that the Venus and Mars gods were kinda a thing, I just couldn't help myself but to age him up a bit to make him like a possible boyfriend or love interest to my Venus character. Since Mars is named after the god of war and therefore also fighting, I made him a boxer. I did thought about some other martial arts as well, but eventually went with boxing since it was easiest to incorporate and make clear by just having him carry a pair of boxing gloves, and it just fits the character and overall design. Other nods to Mars the god are this mullet type of hairstyle that a lot of men seem to got in the ancient times, and a scar over his eye, which also stands for the Valles Marineris Canyon. His overall shape is quite bulky to show that he is a fighter. I gave Mars a baseball jacket simply because baseball jackets are cool, and using the jacket's patches was a way to refer to the planet's characteristics. A spear for the god of war, Mars rover and a NASA logo for Mars being the most studied and explored planet, a UFO to refer to the whole Martian belief, and a number 4 since Mars is the 4th planet from the Sun. There's also a picture of a volcano on his hoodie, and I couldn't help but to put a few white strands on his hair to kinda symbol the ice caps of the planet. Afterwards, I kinda wish I had given him like a robotic limb to empathize the connection between the planet Mars and its robot inhabitants. But I guess we can just pretend that this other arm is artificial. That would also tie back to the war god thing, since it's not told how he lost that arm, though I don't know how that would affect his boxing abilities, but whatever. My Mars character is probably a bit of a scoundrel. He gets easily into trouble, doesn't think before doing something, and is a bit of a hothead who channels his rage into sports. But I think under the tough surface he really is a decent guy who treats others well by default and wants good for everyone. I kinda want him to have a secret himbo energy, so maybe he has a more goofy side with a special interest in aliens and he believes in some wild conspiracy theories. I see him and Venus having kinda enemies to lovers dynamic, with both of them being kinda short-tempered, which leads them to bicker a lot, but also to take a stand against common enemies. Venus definitely likes bad boys who are still respectful. Maybe Venus and Mars bond over a similar, quite likely tragic past, since both of the planets used to have water and therefore possibly also life, and Mars starts supporting Venus to support Earth. Jupiter is the solar system's biggest and oldest planet, and is therefore sometimes called the king of the planets. Jupiter is so large that over 1,000 Earths would fit inside it, and it is over twice as massive as all solar system's other planets combined. It is theorized that Jupiter formed from the Sun's leftover, so to speak, and that's why it's so big compared to the other planets. Actually, Jupiter, having the same ingredients as stars, could have even become one if it would have been able to grow even bigger. Jupiter is named after the Roman king god / god of the sky and thunder. It is one of the brightest objects you can spot in the night sky and radiates more energy than it receives from the sun. Jupiter has the shortest year of the solar system with only 10 hours. Its year, though, is equivalent to 12 Earth years. Jupiter is a gas planet made mostly of helium and hydrogen that swirl around the planet's core. Jupiter has the solar system's largest ocean, but that ocean is made from hydrogen instead of water, which is caused by the planet's immense pressure that turns gas into liquid. Jupiter is the stormiest planet of the solar system. The stripes on the planet's surface are clouds caused to swirl by supersonic winds, and the iconic Great Red Spot vortex is about 3 times the size of Earth and has existed for over 300 years, though it's been noticed to be gradually shrinking. Jupiter serves an important role in the solar system. Due to its great size and gravity, it is able to protect the inner planets from the most dangerous comets and asteroids. It's been theorized that without Jupiter, Earth would be bombarded by a large asteroid every 50th year. Jupiter has altogether 95 moons, which all vary a lot from each other in both surface and conditions. The 4 biggest one being called the Galilean moons, but especially one of them is intriguing to us. Europa has a layer of ice on its surface, but underneath that is quite likely an Earth-like ocean. Therefore, Europa is currently the most notable candidate in humanity's search for finding life outside of Earth. Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede, is the biggest moon in the whole solar system, and Jupiter also has 4 very faint rings. The planet has been visited by 9 different spacecrafts and is currently being orbited by NASA's Juno. Europa Clipper, a mission to investigate Europa's possible life-supporting conditions, is set to launch this year's 2024's October. Since Jupiter is the oldest and the biggest planet, I made my Jupiter character this beefy, grumpy-looking guy who is clearly older than the other characters. He definitely gives either dad or older brother vibes. Originally, I planned Jupiter to be a pilot, since the planet is named after the god of the sky, but then my friend pointed out how he could also be a security guard, since Jupiter the planet protects the inner planets from asteroids. And then I just couldn't get that idea out of my head anymore, and eventually I just had to go back and tweak his uniform to make him more security guard-like. Luckily that was an easy fix, and I absolutely prefer the final version. From the get-go, I knew I definitely wanted to show off the Great Red Spot in Jupiter's design, since it is such an unique and iconic characteristics of the planet. So I gave my Jupiter character a big birthmark that covers the other half of his face, and I also made his eyes 2 different colors since the great red spot is often referred to as Jupiter's eye. He also has a birthmark on his left arm, made to resemble the distinctive stripes of Jupiter. The other arm then has a tattoo that depicts some stormy clouds and lightning bolts, referring to both the planet's stormy nature and the god of the sky/thunder. There's also diamonds in the tattoo, since it's believed that the constant lightning on Jupiter creates carbon, which is then turned into diamonds thanks to the planet's immense pressure. So, in more simple words, there rains diamonds on Jupiter. He has an eagle pin on his shirt, since eagle is very associated with the god Jupiter, and the badge on his left sleeve is trying to be the symbol of Jupiter the planet. All the solar system's planets have their own symbols, but I only use them in my designs if I found them an appropriate and not too on-the-nose place. As I said, I feel like in the possible lore behind these characters, Jupiter would probably be either someone's dad or older brother. Making him a security guard made him somehow feel more young to me, so maybe an older brother would be a better character dynamic, especially since everyone else in the group is already younger than him. He's definitely the grumpy character who is a bit, let's say, stormy, and seems to have some secret reasons behind his attitude. Maybe he has an unfulfilled dream as a rock star, since, Jupiter the planet was supposed to be a star, and the character design kinda has that aesthetic with the tattoos and the piercings. He works his security guard job, which he is good at, and it is enjoyable enough for him, but his dreams lay somewhere else, and this dissatisfaction has made him a bit bitter and generally unhappy. But I still think that Jupiter would care about the other characters, be protective of them, and act kinda big brotherly even to the ones who aren't actually related to him. Saturn is the most known for its largest and most prominent ring system of the solar system. It has 8 main rings, which are as wide as the distance between Earth and its moon. The rings consist of chunks of rock and ice, which vary in size from dust particles to mountains, and are probably pieces from asteroids and comets broken up by Saturn's gravity. The rings give Saturn a very unique look and make it one of, if not the most, recognizable planet. It is confirmed though that Saturn is slowly losing its rings because the planet's gravity is little by little pulling in the particles that form the rings. Saturn also has the most moons in the solar system, 146 to be exact. Saturn is named after the Roman god of time, wealth, and agriculture, and as a gas giant it doesn't have a solid surface, but is instead made mostly of hydrogen and helium. Saturn is the least dense planet of the solar system and only one with a density less than water, which means that if placed to water, Saturn would float. Saturn orbits the Sun in 29 Earth days, and Saturnian day lasts about 10 hours. This rapid spinning causes Saturn's north and south poles to flatten while the equator area expands. The north pole of Saturn also has this weird hexagon-shaped cloud pattern, which doesn't have an exact explanation just yet. Saturn is the solar system's second largest planet, and just like Jupiter, it helps steering dangerous asteroids away from the inner solar system. Saturn is the last planet able to be seen easily by a naked eye, and therefore was the most distant planet to be discovered unaided, and has been known since ancient times. Saturn has been visited 4 times by spacecrafts, the latest mission being Cassini-Huygens in 2024, which was a big step for humanity in understanding Saturn. Cassini studied Saturn for 13 years, for example going closest to its rings than any spacecraft before, and capturing the furthest away surface image of a celestial body while landing a probe on Saturn's largest moon Titan. In 2017, low-on fluke Cassini was intentionally plunged into Saturn to avoid it crashing into and possibly damaging any of the planet's moons that could be habitable for humans in the future. My Saturn character design might stick out a bit compared to the other characters, since everyone else looks quite modern, while Saturn's design is heavily inspired by cowboy core, I guess. In my first sketches of him, he was definitely more up-to-date, but I still decided to go with the farmer look since the planet is named after the Roman god of agriculture, and that gave the character a more unique and interesting look. I gave him a scythe because the god Saturn was often depicted to be carrying one. Saturn is also the god of time, so his belt buckle has an engraving of an hourglass. To refer to Saturn's rings, I gave the character a few ring-like characteristics, like the rings on his fingers, necklace, earrings, eyebrow piercing, and the rope hanging from his belt, which also resembles hoops/rings. All that jewelry could also be linked back to Saturn the god, who is also the god of wealth. The most notable reference to the rings of Saturn is his big hat, which has these beads hanging from the brim to stand for the pieces the rings of the planet are made of. The bandana around his neck has an hexagon pattern to refer to the weird cloud pattern on Saturn's North Pole, and his chaps have stripes that resemble the overall surface of the planet. His aesthetic is a combination of an Old West farmer and like a modern fashion show thing, to show off the both side of Saturn being the god of agriculture and wealth. The outfit might be a bit impractical to an actual farm, but I kinda imagine that in the lore his family would be the one owning the farm, and then my Saturn character would be working there, and he doesn't really let that define his fashion sense. Basically, he's living for the aesthetic aspect of it all. I'm still not sure how Saturn would be connected to the other planet characters. He's kinda giving either an older cousin or young uncle vibe, so maybe something of that kind. When it comes to his personality, I imagine him being this fun, cool, little bit irresponsible character that especially Mercury, being an easily excitable kid, would admire, and then they would get into shenanigans together and have like dumb money-making schemes that are low-key illegal. Saturn would have a very dry humor and be kinda neutral part of the gang who would side with whoever is winning at the moment, though he and Jupiter would probably be pals solely because they are the two gas planets. Maybe even a bit of a snobbish guy who would silently judge others. Yeah, funny. Let's get that out of the way. Uranus is an ice giant and the coldest planet of the solar system, with temperature able to drop to minus 224 Celsius despite being only the second farthest planet from the Sun. This is caused by Uranus's another unique characteristic. Unlike the other planets, Uranus spins sideways, making its seasons the most extreme in the solar system. It is believed that long ago Uranus collided with another celestial body and therefore was knocked to its side. The collision could also be blamed for letting out Uranus's heat. Uranus is named after the Greek god of the sky, making it the only solar system planet to be named after a Greek, not a Roman deity. Uranus has 27 moons and 13 rings and is known for its monochromical teal color. Uranian day lasts 17 hours and year 84 Earth years. Uranus doesn't have a solid surface and is instead made of icy fluids, which would probably feel like trying to swim in a soup. Uranus is the last planet able to be seen from Earth's surface with a naked eye, but that requires some certain circumstances like dark sky and low light pollution. Uranus has been visited by a man-made spacecraft only once, in 1986 by NASA's Voyager 2 when it was heading towards Neptune. It took about 10 years for Voyager to reach the planet and get the first, and so far the only, close-up pictures of it and discover 10 new moons and 2 new rings. NASA plans to return to Uranus in decades to come. With Uranus' character design, I decided to fully embrace the planet's coldness and ice theme and make her a figure skater with a Snow Queen-esque aesthetic. So lots of ice resembling jewelry and accessories, pale makeup and of course cold colors. I tried to make her costume's front look a bit like a creeping up frost and the texture like a snowstorm, since Uranus is named after the god of the sky. Her design might be a bit too busy compared to how in real life Uranus is like the most minimalistic planet ever, but I guess that's okay since it wouldn't make a particularly interesting character design. To refer to the planet's lopsidedness, I tried to make her pose kinda tilt and her outfit asymmetrical with only one sleeve. And I kinda wish I had gone even further with that idea, like maybe removing her other leg warmer as well, but well, oh well. I gave her a hula hoop to stand for the rings of the planet because I thought it would fit her design and she could do like little tricks with the hoop when she's on the ice. The hoop is colored lilac solely because I found like one picture where the rings of the planet looked vaguely purple and I just liked it and it fit the color scheme, so lilac it is. I struggled with this design the most, maybe because unlike with the other characters, I didn't have that clear shape and features in mind before I started to draw her. Now afterwards, it's easy to say that I definitely should have spent more time brainstorming her design before I started the final piece. So she ended up having this kinda weird and, to be honest, a little bit uncanny proportions. Her body was weirdly realistic, while her head/face had more of that little exaggerated cartoon style. So even after I already thought I was done, I just had to go back to balance those things out more. She still isn't my favorite one, but now I can at least look at her. I see my Uranus character as someone who's kinda an involuntary introvert. From the outside, she seems arrogant, cold, serious, and even a bit mean. She likes her own company the best and wants to be seen as cool, calm, and collected. But also she can't help but to get dragged into drama because she's kind of bitter and just can't let things slide. Uranus would definitely pretend not to care when in reality she would actually care a lot and most of the time wouldn't even be able to keep the act up. She wouldn't get along with that many people, but I'd see her headbutting especially with my Venus character, because they're both seemingly self-confident, know their own worth, and get angry easily. When Venus's anger is fiery, Uranus's anger is more freezing kind. You don't want her to give you her signature cold glare and some sharp and accurate comment that will turn your fingers and toes blue. But I think deep down, under the hard surface, Uranus would have a lot of insecurities that have caused her originally be so distant and, well, cold. Maybe her unfortunate name has something to do with it. She is linked to the other characters by being Venus's enemy turned more like frenemy in the course of time, because in the end, they see each other as an equal opponent and will absolutely not let anyone else than themselves speak ill of the other. Maybe they will eventually become actual friends, who knows? Neptune is the most distant planet from the Sun in our solar system, therefore making it also the darkest one. It is so far away that it takes about 4 hours for light to travel there, and about 13 years for anything man-made to reach it. The distance between Neptune and Earth is 13 times the distance between Earth and the Sun. Neptune has been visited by a spacecraft only once. In 1989, NASA's Voyager 2 took the only existing close-up pictures of the planet and its moons. Because of the long distance between us and Neptune, it is still the most mysterious planet in our solar system. Neptune is named after the Roman god of water and sea, and is often depicted to be this deep blue color, but fun fact, in real life Neptune is much closer to Uranus in color, and astronomy people have just pumped up the saturation of pictures of Neptune to differentiate from Uranus. I also think that most people have at some point just assumed that Neptune is an ocean planet because of its name and color, but no, Neptune is actually an ice giant. It doesn't have a solid surface and is made of icy fluids like methane and ammonia. I personally think this is a little bit disappointing because it would be really cool if Neptune was indeed an ocean planet. I know it wouldn't probably even be possible because of Neptune's distance from the Sun, but like, come on, we already have 1 ice planet and 0 full-on ocean planets in our solar system. Where can I file a complaint to the universe? It is theorized that there might be a boiling hot ocean underneath the clouds of Neptune, so maybe I can cling on to that. Neptune is the windiest planet of the solar system. It has even faster wind speed than Jupiter, and just like Jupiter, Neptune too has visible storms on its surface called the Great Dark Spots, which, unlike Jupiter's Great Red Spot, last only a few years but are able to move more freely. Neptune has 5 faint rings and 14 moons. Neptune's biggest moon is called Triton, and it's theorized that it didn't originally form with the planet like moons usually do, but was a dwarf planet captured by Neptune's gravitational pull because it orbits in the opposite direction than its planet rotates. Neptune has the solar system's longest year, with seasons lasting about 40 Earth years each. Neptune is also the first planet discovered by mathematical prediction, and is the only solar system's planet not visible to the naked eye from Earth. As I said, Neptune isn't actually an ocean planet, but I still decided her character design to be very water and ocean themed, since that would give her a more unique look, and you know, the planet's name is still Neptune and it's most commonly known for its ocean blue color, so whatever, it's my character design. Just like with the other characters, I gave Neptune her own hobby/career. She's a professional swimmer, wearing a blue swimsuit and carrying a sports bag. I knew very early on that she would definitely have a little bit mermaid core going on, so her earrings are in the shape of seashells and she's wearing a lot of pearl jewelry, accessories and even makeup. I thought that those could also stand for the planet's white spot, the methane clouds. In my original sketches of her, she had this poofy dress with transparent sleeves, but I ditched that since it wouldn't work with her swimsuit. But also completely getting rid of the dress would make her design kinda boring looking, so instead I gave her this long, translucent, almost ocean waves or jellyfish tentacles reminiscent skirt that she could easily take off when she goes for a swim. You can see me trying to give her some kind of shawl made from the same material, but that ended up making the design more difficult to read instead of making it more interesting, so I just got rid of it entirely. She has her hair on these hoops, which could stand for the rings of the planet Neptune, I guess. I put a picture of a trident on her back since it is the symbol of the sea god and the planet itself. Since she is a professional swimmer, she must be good at what she's doing, so she's got a medal hanging from her neck, and that medal has an engraving of an hippocampus, a mythological creature which were said to draw the chariot of the sea god. I already used the birthmark idea when depicting Jupiter's Great Red Spot, so let's say Neptune's mole under her nose stands for the Great Dark Spot. I think Neptune would be the withdrawn member of the solar system gang, not in a loser kind of way, but more in a cool, mysterious way. I could see her being closest with Uranus, but even then they wouldn't be like besties, but would hang around each other just because Neptune is the only one Uranus can stand, and Neptune doesn't mind Uranus's quietness. They would both be kinda emotionally distant and don't have the need to talk, but unlike Uranus, who does it with a cold manner, Neptune would be more soft. She would mostly just concentrate on her career and be this very recognized and celebrated athlete who would smile slightly to the excited little kids in the audience and give polite yet short-spoken interviews. And of course, she would always dress in fancy, confident, and experimental clothes, which would increase her coolness, mysteriousness, and a little intimidatingness. I've been having a bit of an art block lately, and therefore I haven't drawn digitally in a while, so when I started doing these designs, I struggled a little at first. But eventually, when I remembered again how drawing works, these were actually really fun to make. Originally I planned to draw these planet characters only for my sketchbook, but after I was done with those, I had the biggest urge to do like final designs of them digitally, and well, here we are. My personal favorite designs are probably Venus and Neptune, and those were actually the ones I was the most excited to draw, so I started with them and later finished with Jupiter, who is probably my least favorite one. I feel like there could have been many opportunities to make some of the designs more interesting by brainstorming more, but at the same time character design shouldn't be too complicated either, and at this point I'm just happy to be done with these. Making this video was a great excuse for me to research all these planet and space related things, and the whole making of was really fun and educational experience. I actually learned a lot new stuff. Space remains to be very intriguing for me, and apparently you share the sentiment if you have stuck this far. I hope that you learned at least something new, enjoyed watching me draw, and let me know which character design was your favorite and if you have some fun character dynamic suggestions.